Tujue ya kwamba sasa mchezo umeisha. Tafuta hawa watu ambao wanakula mali ya wengine, utuletee tufunge, ama wewe mwenyewe utakuwa na shida katika hiyo shida mambo.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, we've seen at least two other of those kind of tough talk and warnings directed to the Minister Agriculture, who also has appeared numerous times before committees of Parliament to speak on the queries being raised. But before we move away from that press conference yesterday and those allegations that were made by the members present, let's also listen to what Honorable Kutuni Joshua had to say outside just the question of that the investigations be conducted, but this is also what he had to say about the Deputy President.
Because before you ask for 2022, you must start telling us, for the last 5 years, what have you done? What is there for us to take home? What is the celebration? In fact, the worst county in the country in terms of development is the county where the Deputy President is coming from. Because there is not even a single complete project. So we are telling Deputy President, shelve aside your ambition. Can you concentrate on the challenges facing your people?
It's Joshua Kutuni there. Mr. Koech, Honorable Koech, the question, and it was put to you as well by Honorable Tiren, that yes, he's been there all those years, whether as Member of Parliament, he used to once serve even in terms of agriculture. There was that Maize scandal at the time. So that the concern around where are still real actual solutions being put on the table, and do you agree with that last assertion that that county is doing so bad and yet he's seen to do these development tours in different parts of the country?
I'll tell you this, looking at body language and the speech of these three gentlemen, I read a lot of politics. And to be very honest, in fact, this discussion is taking a bit way too long before I told you that it is nothing to do with maize. It is all politics.
What politics exactly?
These people who are speaking here, the three of them are being paid to do what they are doing. We know what they are doing, and we know who are paying them to do that. That is not, I mean, they are genuine farmers. Look at that crowd that they had. That is about 10, 15 people.
So who is paying them?
Farmers. These are people, there are accessors that have come. And if you've had us speak, we've said that there are accessors that have come up. There's one axis that is now trying to revive the ICC script and narrative. And then there is this axis of trying to paint the Deputy President as a corrupt person who can't even help his own people at home. And these are the people now who are doing that job, the dirty job. It is, we know who they pay them, and they know themselves.
Yeah,
and I can tell you, and that is why even in our own conversation, even in their talk, I was expecting today when I came here, Tiren to link the Deputy President with all these maize issues. There's nothing they've said about the maize. All they are saying is Deputy President. They are disassociating the Deputy President. You've just played a clip of the President giving out a very harsh statement on why people should be paid and all the culprits should be brought to book. If today Tiren had, for instance, any information that links the Deputy President to this, then he should have gone and recorded statements. You don't go back to the village and start crying to your constituents and saying, oh, you know, Deputy President, it is pure politics and dirty politics. So I want them to come clean and tell the country what is this that they know that we don't know. Because they should have gone to EACC and recorded a statement. Why is he saying that the Deputy President should go to EACC? I want to warn them that, you know, Deputy President is not in their league. Let them face people like me. But Deputy President is totally in a different league. Detach the Deputy President from the issues of maize. We have a capable Minister Kiunjuri who is trying to sort out the mess that is already there. And we have agencies today that if they feel they are aggrieved, he's in the Agriculture Committee. He should have someone. These people, when we are always sitting in Parliament and tabling and asking questions, the different ministers who come before us, they disappear. Now they only appear in barazas in the village.
All right, so let's give him a right of response. Honorable Tiren, I've asked, I think, almost 3 times about the evidence you have to substantiate those claims. That has not been forthcoming. So one would be tempted to believe and go with what Honorable Koech is saying, that this is politics and that perhaps they say when a dog barks, look who the owner of that dog is.
Thank you very much. I don't know, but let him also prove those claims. Does he have proof that we are being paid by anybody? He needs to either prove the allegations. No, he shouldn't just say about that. And anyway, I also want him to tell us, because in the list that we saw that was released by ESCC, there is Koilel Farm. I don't know whether he knows who are the director or who owns Koilel Farm. Maybe he needs to tell us. I don't know whether he's aware about that, because that may be where we are also driving a lot of things from. Maybe we should find out who the directors and who own Koilel Farm, because I only saw it in the list. And that is what I was saying. Maybe we need to look at all those things. Also, and also it's in public domain. Like he says, there are agencies that are supposed to be investigating these things. It is in public domain, and everybody has been saying that there were people who are paid. And it is on record that there are farmers who have not been paid for almost 2 years now, or rather before, when they started planting, until now it's 2 years. There are people who are paid within 2 weeks. And like I started by saying, when money was being sent to Kisumu, where they were not buying maize, or there was no maize, the money was being sent to Nakuru. Money was being sent to areas that they were not harvesting maize. At that particular time, there was only maize in Uasin and Trans Nzoia. Why was money sent to Kisumu? Why was money sent to the other cereals? So there's a lot of things that need to be investigated. And I also want to tell him that he said, what have you tried to do?
Yeah, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. What have you tried to do? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So what I also wanted to add on top of that is that he talked about issues. There are so many people who have brought petitions to Parliament on issues of agriculture, on how it should be done. And I want to give a very good case is that when farmers brought petition about KCC, where we legislated and we solved the problem and actually passed KCC to the farmers, it was only left for it to come to the House so that it is voted for and it goes the direction, whichever direction they have taken. It never went to the House. When we came back, we were told it has gone back to privatization authority. So there's also a lot of things that are happening. Parliament is no longer independent, because if I may ask, we tried to help farmers through issues of KCC, because KCC belonged to farmers, and we returned it back to farmers as leaders. But coming back, something else was wrong. So there's also a lot of issues in Parliament, and that's why there are so many petitions. I wish people would have time to go and look at the number of petitions, the number of bills farmers people are bringing, legislators are trying to bring on issues to help farmers, but it is killed before it gets to the House. And that's why I'm telling you, look at an example. When we were given issues, when we went for election for leadership of committees, I was amongst the people who was elected by members of Parliament. But what happened? I was removed through the back door, through other things. So there is no independence. And that's why I wanted to tell Koech, Honorable Koech, we've been together and we're saying it is political. He's saying, what is political? What is political about farmers? What is political about trying to address issues that are touching on people who work for a whole year, 12 months, and waiting to be paid? He stated very clearly that the Deputy President knows very well all the problems.
So is this for you revenge for how you were treated in being stripped of that chairmanship of the committee your colleague as well, Kater? Is this vengeance?
What we are trying to say, it is not revenge. What we are trying to say is that independence. I'm just trying to prove that there is no independence in Parliament. But what is happening is that we forgot about that when we moved on. What we are trying to say now is, let us help the farmers. Farming is not a hobby. It is a business. Kenya's economy is driven by agriculture. If it is indeed driven by agriculture, how come Kenya is a signatory of the Maputo Declaration? Since 2003, the budget agriculture is only 2.9%. If indeed there is something wrong somewhere, why can't even treaties that have been signed by the government be fulfilled? So I want Koech to tell us, what is it that we are not doing? We are trying to make noise to say, here, look here, there is a problem here. How can it be addressed? Because there's a lot of challenges, and he knows very well. He came to Parliament, the other day, and I want to tell him that we are not doing this because we are making noise, or maybe he thinks maybe we are trying to follow anybody. What we are saying is that we want to help people who are on the ground, people who are suffering. I also want to raise issues of sugar. I was in the team that was investigating sugar. We did a report, and I saw people going around, including the Deputy President, saying that the report we produced was so simple that cannot even be produced with people who don't know what they are doing. So I was wondering, what was wrong in the report? Because we said people should pay taxes because it was illegal when they brought in sugar? Is it illegal because we said people should take responsibility?
All right, sir, allow me to jump in.
Is it illegal because...
Can you hear me say, allow me to jump in? And as you talk about the sugar report, at that particular point, again, it was your committee that on one hand found that some CSs should be held accountable, and then there was mischief done before it was tabled. And we talked about that with the committee chair and one of the members who said mischief was clearly done in the committee. So that as you adduce blame elsewhere, even within your committee, when you've been charged to investigate some of these issues, those are the kind of results Kenyans end up seeing, which is nothing after all that work. But a yes or no before I come to Honorable Kowait. So will you tomorrow go to the investigative agencies, DCI, finally on this question, to record a statement on what you claim you know of the interference on these matters by the DP? Yes or no?
Well, thank you very much. But like I said, I'll be very honest and clear there. Why should I be going to record a statement? And I've said we saw the name in the list, Koilel Farm. So what we are saying is that let the investigate agencies do their work. It is not me to go and write statements, because if the name has appeared in the list, let them either clear, or if there is anything that is not straight, let the investigating agencies should tell us. I am not saying I am the one who is complaining. I am saying there's a list that there are about 62 people in the list, and those are the people who are being investigated. And I want them to come out. Who does Koilel belong to? Is it that it is just a name that is similar to other? Because I've seen Koilel around. I've seen Koilel Farm. So I just want that to come out clear, so that if the agency knows it has, or rather the directors associated with the deputy president, then they should also investigate and find out where all these things are coming from.
And just to clarify, those are allegations you've made. You're mentioning names and farms, allegations with unclear what issues or crimes you're talking about. What we do know, though, is that there are investigations being conducted by the EACC, and CS Kunjuri talked about a list is handed over to them. The matter is with them. So again, just to be very clear, allegations on the names and individuals you've touched on that are unsubstantiated. Let me bring Honorable Kowait in. Let's talk a little bit before we wind up on what happens here on out. It's been one scandal issue after another when it comes to the farmers in the country. As legislators, now there's this infighting. You're all in Jubilee. There's mudslinging here and there. We're not getting substance of what the real issues are. So what's the hope for a farmer?
First, I will say that it's become, before I go to the issues of the farmer, it's become very fashionable for any politician hanging on the straws to malign the deputy president. I think it makes news and it makes them relevant. They live another day. So I think we should leave that story there. I just find it as allegations, and I regret such statements from leaders who lie through their noses. Now, number two, we have to have clear policy on what should happen to the maize farmer. And as we are saying, we must be very honest to our farmers as well. We cannot live and think remotely, and we cannot think the same all these years and expect different results. This is the time now to tell the farmer, you must buy the bullet. You do the maize, you do other products, other produce in your farm that will make economic sense. Frontiers are opening up for markets that Kenya is becoming dominant in various fields abroad. It is only fair to have our farmers roped in. But again, at the same time, let us clear the mess that we have in the Ministry of Agriculture. I think it will have been fair, and I'm waiting for the task force to see the report, but I think it will have been fair to pay the genuine farmer who supplied their maize so that we can start afresh. Because as we are talking now, there's produce in the farms now that are yet to be sold, and that is also going to be another problem. Yeah. So the sooner we dispose of what we have now, then the better. Because, and that is only for the maize, because before we come into the tea sector. I'm very happy about Kericho County. There's a task force now that has been formed in the Senate that is looking into the tea farmer and the ills that affect the tea farmer. With this country, 10, 15 years from now, we must be able to be dominating the global market of our produce. We have beautiful weather, we have beautiful soils.
And that's why I want to interject quickly there. You talk about beautiful weather, so that, as you said, let the farmers diversify. The question that would be raised is that it's not an issue of not being able to farm. There's good weather, produce and everything. What really is ailing a lot of these crops and farming is corruption, is that money allocated for farmers is being paid to unscrupulous individuals, is that produce is taken by farmers to the silos, they're told there is no storage, and then it starts rotting, you're told it's not good. So that is the problem the farming itself, or that the management of it and corruption is a real issue?
I don't know. For maize farming, I really, I don't understand. If it will be a crime today for me, for instance, if I plant 10 or 15 acres, which is not huge quantities enough to take to national cereals, if I decided to buy a few more from farmers who are doing the same and sold them. That is the position that I don't know, and I hope the task force will explain properly what that means. But besides that, I think the government now should take stock of each farmer, you know, because they are known in the villages and we know who is the farmer where, tukue tuna nyumba kumi, so that we know who is selling what. We start from there, let the government come up with strict policies on exactly what should be supplied and who should do that, at what period of time, and what are the quantities, so that we put them on check and balances.
Right.
I appreciate the government on what they are doing on subsidies in fertilizer. Let us also see that the government goes out to look for more market for our produce, so that we don't have oversupply of the produce and we don't have anything to do with what we have, like we have a situation we have now in the North Rift.
All right. Honorable Tiren, you sit in the Agriculture Committee, so you have privilege of more information about some of the issues ailing, whether it's maize farming or other areas. For you, what is the priority? If today you were to be told this one change or reform to make to improve the lives and, you know, the earnings of the maize farmers, what would that thing be?
Now, thank you very much. But before I get there, I also wanted to just raise that maybe we got the information I was telling you from EACC was brought to us to the committee by the CS Kiunjuri, and that's why I have most of this information. Thank you. Now, I would say one of the only things that has messed us up, and I would agree with you, it is corruption. If corruption can be dealt with, the earlier, the better. Will serve a lot of issues. Okay, there's also the other part that you look at all this area is that the farmers is suffering and the consumer is suffering. And then the person in the middle here maybe is the one who is making or rather reaping all the profit. So we need to look at all that and so that we have a balance. And then I would also want to add that there was a task force that was formed, and I would say if it was possible and if it was, I would advise that maybe a commission of inquiry should be formed to investigate all these issues of agriculture, not only maize or what, but maize, sugar, name it, because there's a lot of challenge. And I'm happy to hear my colleague Koech says that he only does very little maize, and that is why he's saying he only does not even sell it, and maybe he may not know the challenge that are facing farmers. And I just wanted to tell them also that let us support one another, because farmers have a lot of challenge, because you can imagine a farmer who planted last year, to date, they have not been paid. It is challenging, and as you said, let us look for all ways on how to address these issues. But I'll zero it in to corruption. If corruption can be dealt with, the faster it is dealt with, the better for all of us. I'll give an example. The other day, the president, and I want to thank the president very much for supporting farmers, and I think that's the hope. We only have a lot of hope in him, because he's the only one who really wants to help us, I can see. Because the other day he said we should be paid the 1.4 billion, which I'm also surprised that what the farmers received was 1.3 billion. I don't know where 100 million went, and those are some of the things. When we raise, it becomes that we are trying to talk about things that are not realistic. So we want all those things to be done. And I will also want to take this opportunity and say, also Cereals Board, National Cereals and Produce Board should be invited. Maybe they should come out and tell us. And I want National Cereals Board to be invited to our committee, so that they might shed a lot of light about all these things, and maybe the phone calls and whoever was calling or who was calling,
Sir,
so that we're able to address some of these things.
Briefly, before, as you give me your closing remarks, we know that P.S. Lesiampe is facing charges in court. Several officials from NCPB. You talk about them coming before you as a committee. They have done that before. I have not had a real solution of what should actually do, but I'll ask you this. In your press conference yesterday, other than talking about the DP, you said that the former minister, Willie Bett, should be held accountable as well. Would you say that of the current minister, Kiunjuri? We've seen the president lashing out at him in public angrily for the issues that continue to face the farmers. So do you think CS Kiunjuri should resign?
Well, I would want to say that sometimes we even sympathize with the president because of the challenges he's facing. And we've been summoning Kiunjuri on several occasions to come to Parliament. And like I can even say this very clearly, we summoned Kiunjuri about 4 times. He did not come to Parliament, which is a very serious offense. But of course, he came the other day, and we ironed out many of these things. And well, I said, and I'm one of the people who say that if he cannot do the job, if he feels that he fears somebody, or he thinks he may fear other people, or so and so, then he should come out clear and clean that I cannot continue with this thing instead of taking us round in circles. Why I'm saying this is that look at this issue about the problem about farmers, and I mean maize farmers. It has gone round and round. Issues of sugar, it went round and round, and you saw all these things. Why can't he come out clearly and say this is where the problem is? It is, you see, the ministry, he should not tell us that, of course, CS Bet should be this or that. He should come out with maybe correspondence and say, this is the person who is responsible for this and that. When we were doing the investigation about sugar, of course, there were a lot of correspondence that came when we were investigating, and some of it were touching on the former CS. So if he is to come and explain to us why this was happening, then he should come. And everybody should carry their own cross, because I think Kenyans are tired also of all the problems that are happening. Kenyans are feeling that there is so much burden. Let us help Kenyans. Let us be patriotic Kenyans so that we are able to help the small man. Thank you.
All right, sir. Many thanks for your time. And also give a closing comment to you, Honorable Koech. And my question briefly as you answer to you would be, at the end of the day, he's lauding the president. There are those who would say, a big problem of this mess truly is the corruption and mismanagement. Why not crack the whip? The buck stops with the president. These are his appointees. Why not say they're not working? Get them off instead of complaining. So do you think he should fire some of these CSs, especially on such critical issues as food security and health?
I think in all fairness, it cannot just be about, hiring and firing. You give people time.
Accountability has to be.
That's what I'm saying. But you give people time. It's come out very strongly, to condemn what happened before. And you see there's task force going on. There is work going on.
In 2015, he fired CSs for being mentioned, not being mentioned.
That is different. And it didn't work then. So let's give an opportunity to people. I mean, I've never seen anything. No one has faulted Kiunjuri. Tiren, even in his own speech, is saying that, it's a willy bit. I don't agree with him. But I'm saying let us give opportunity to our leaders also to prove themselves. We cannot be a society of, condemning, and all we want to do is to fire people. And as I said before, there's too much politics in this. If you disassociate politics, and I'll tell my friend Honorable Tiren, and your friends, that if you disassociate politics and deputy president from the issues of farmers, you just might get the real issue. But because you are so much overwhelmed and obsessed with the name of the deputy president that in every sentence that you've talked here, you seem to be mentioning the deputy president, you're blinded by the real issues, and you're focusing on a different person to attack instead of looking on the real issue and solving the problem of the farmers. So I will tell them and their paymaster that it's time to work now. Stop that being busybodies and running around and maligning people's names, and focus on the real issue. You know the issues of the farmers. You know it can be done in Parliament. We will help you in that. I am still very new, as you said before, but I think I have grasped a few things here and there in Parliament, and we will work together. But disassociate yourself from being used to attack the deputy president unnecessarily and handle your politics uko nyumbani.
All right.
You don't get to that level.
A good member of parliament, Nelson Koech, and he was joining us live from Eldoret. Silas Tiren is the Moiben member of parliament. Thank you, sir, as well, for making the time to be with us here on Checkpoint. We're going to take a break. When we return, I will have all the sporting action for you tonight, sitting in for Robinson Okenye.